Hello, and thank you for coming out and speaking with us today. We here at Western Florida Fire and EMS are always looking to improve the community around us in everything we do. And having said that, one of our goals this past year was to develop a community risk reduction plan. You asked what a community risk reduction plan is. Community risk reduction plan goes through a process that analyzes the organization and analyzes the community around us and looks at the demographics. Through doing that, we look to identify risks that the community faces. We prioritize those risks, ranking from highest to lowest, which one's going to impact our community more, and then we work on developing plans to mitigate those risks or solve the problems, find solutions for the problems. So identifying the problem, one of the greatest ones we found for this community is landfall and tropical systems. Hurricanes and landfall and tropical systems pose a huge risk for our area. Obviously, we're right along the Atlantic coast. The potential for loss of life and property damage is huge. We've faced them before. We're just recovering from the last couple we've had. And again, we face them every year. We've already had one this year. It happens almost every year. Statistically, our area ranks pretty high in the nation. Williams, 2020, ranked Morehead City as the second highest impacted city of landfall and tropical systems. Morehead City is less than 20 miles away from our jurisdiction. Most major hurricanes have eyes that are greater than 20 miles wide. So the chances of us being affected are extremely high. We typically wind up with a landfall and tropical system somewhere within 60-mile radius of us, with about a year and a half is our average. Right now, the statistics show that North Carolina itself as a state ranks third in the nation in the Atlantic Basin for hurricane strikes. This year's probably going to drop to 4 after the Gulf states, but we still will rank within the top 5. Again, we face them almost every year. We have to prepare. So our problem we identified, okay? The problem associated with timely evacuations. These pose a huge problem for us. Why? Several factors lead to the decisions of issuing evacuations, and there's many factors that lead to the decisions for people to obey those evacuations or heed the warnings. There was studies found that showed where transportation, they didn't trust the sources. They've been through lower level hurricanes before and come out unscathed. So they choose not to evacuate. This is wrong. Okay? We've got to educate the public in our area about that. High risk areas. Okay? We have high risk area. We face the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway, which is just basically one sand dune away from the Atlantic Ocean. We have an inlet that directly leads to the Atlantic Ocean in our jurisdiction. Basically, we're 35 feet in most areas, high, 35 feet above the water line. Some areas are 20 foot. We're on the high side of the county. We don't do with as much flooding potential, but we do have a great amount of surge potential. Surge is the #1 killer of individuals and property loss during a hurricane. This map here comes from the National Storm Surge Hazards Map by NOAA. This is a Category 4 surge. It identifies our high-risk areas, as you can see, along the waterfront and up the rivers and estuaries. Our major populations in our jurisdiction encompass right along this area on the south-facing coastline. This one shows a Category 4. The only 4 we've ever had landfall was Hazel back in 1954. The issue with this is the previous storm we had of Hurricane Florence was a Category 1 when it made landfall, albeit it had the inundation of water of a Category 5. So keep in mind, Category storm does not always depict what effects it's going to bring. We have approximately 6 miles of coastline along the Intercoastal Waterway on our south facing jurisdiction. On our west facing, we have 11 miles of the White Oak River and 24 miles of shoreline that adjoin any body of water of these estuaries where your flood zones show, or your surge potential on the last map. So we have a large number of commercial and residential structures that would be affected, along with a large number of our population. 2017's estimates showed we were about 5,100 residential structures. Okay? Again, south facing in the district is a lot of them. 2017 also showed a little more than 260 commercial type structures. There again, high surge areas are where our vast majority of our commercial structures are. Okay? 2016, we were 9,100 full-time residents. Now we're bumping 10,000. 75 to 100% influx of people during the summer months, during our tourist season. Hurricane season coincides with tourist season. So we need to have a plan to educate people about the risk of being here. Land use, you can see basically your reds and your yellows are your residential and your commercials. Green is forested or not used. Blue is water, obviously. So you can see a lot of our areas are residential and commercial right down here on the south facing areas and right up along the edges of the estuary areas and the creeks and the rivers, where we do see a lot of surge and flood potential. Population growth, as I said, we were roughly about 10,000 right now. We're one of the highest growing areas in the county. We're averaging a little over 1.5 to 2% increase every year. Right now they're putting in a large number of homes. These new homes come with new people that may not be educated on the severity or the risk that we face during tropical systems. So our goal, the Community Risk Reduction Plan, what we found out through analysis and research of the area, the goal is to reduce the number of injuries and property damages due to tropical systems. Okay? Now this can affect all of us. Our strategies. First thing we want to do is try and get an idea of who's going to leave and who's going to stay. All right? Specific to our jurisdiction. Then once we do that, we want to develop a program to provide education to the area of the population, the area population of risk. Again, we got a lot of new people coming in here that may have never been through one of these storms before. We need to make sure they fully understand the risk and educate them and try to influence them to evacuate. Third thing we want to do is target our areas of known flooding and flood and surge potential, our south-facing and west-facing areas. Those are the highest risk out of this, so we want to make sure we reach 100% of that population and educating them. Fourth thing we want to do, and this may take time, average a year and a half, it could be 2, could be 3, but conduct after action surveys, send them out to determine how many people actually left. See if our program is actually working. If it is, great. If it's not, be able to come back, revisit the plan, and see what we can do better. It's not going to be free of charge. It will take a little bit of increase on our budget and some resources. Materials to create the surveys is roughly going to be $1,000. Postage to send the surveys out, we know how many people we have, how many permanent, how many we're going to have to send out of area. The manpower to create the surveys and the manpower to do the education events and the door-to-door target hazard areas. And it's going to be an increase of about $11,100 across this 5-year plan. Some of that's going to be reoccurring every year. It may go up or down a little bit, depends on how our fourth strategy comes out, if we're making an effective push. So in conclusion, we're growing. 2% every year, we're growing fast. All right, a lot of these individuals coming in may never have known this. We need to, as a community, and with the help of the community, that's what y'all are here for. That's what we need your input. That's what we need you to help us with to make this plan work. Okay, more permanent residents will mean more individuals to evacuate for a storm. Early evacuation, big importance. Okay, and then educating the public of the dangers and risks. That's what this comes down to. We can't make anybody leave, but we can try and influence them and educate them to make the right decision. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them and answer them any way I can. Thank you.